Today I'm going to be showing you how to shoot an HDR panorama. So the first thing we need to do is get our tripod actually leveled. That way when we rotate the head, it stays level with the horizon or thereabouts. So with this one, we only have a bubble level up here on top. Some of them will have one down here, so you can get it leveled, the actual tripod leveled right here first. But this one only has this one, but it does have scales, degrees. So what we need to do is just set all of these at 0. This one doesn't really matter so much, just have it kind of in the center of where your panorama is going to be. And then come over here and adjust this one. So basically we got them all to 0 now. Now we'll just adjust the legs to the point where the bubble level is right in the middle. Okay, our tripod is leveled now. It's time to put a camera on. I'll be shooting today with a Nikon D750 and a 50mm 1.8. Settings are going to be f13, 100 ISO, and 1/80th of a second, it looks like. That's going to be our middle exposure. From there, we just need to get the camera set up. I'm going to be shooting it in portrait orientation. So we'll go ahead and flip this like that. And we just want to get it pretty close. We can actually, in this camera, use the virtual horizon to level the camera, which is right about there. And you just tighten that one down. I like the three-way heads because each direction is independent, but of course you can use a ball head or other heads as well. So now we got everything set up. We can just swing around and see what we want to shoot here. And I'm seeing that I actually want to tilt it just a tiny bit more this way, just because as I pan, just how the hills lay out. So we got that there. Now I'll bring in the camera close and I'll show you the settings. Today we're going to be using bracketing. If your camera doesn't have bracketing, you can always go 1, 2, 3. That's a stop darker, and of course 1, 2, 3 stops brighter. And so that's one stop in each direction. And if you need to take like 5 shots like I'm going to be doing today, it would be 1, 2, 3, take a picture there, 1, 2, 3, take a picture there. And so to make it easier, you can just go 6 clicks higher, which is 2 stops higher, and then you work your way down 3 stops, or 3 clicks, which is 1 stop, take a picture, work your way down, take another picture, take another picture, take another picture, take another picture. So that would be how you bracket. But we're going to be using the in-camera bracketing today, which will make it a lot easier. And I'm also going to incorporate the self-timer. Now on the D750, there's a little button on the side here by the flash button that allows you to access bracketing. And the rear command dial will show you how many frames you're going to shoot. I turned it to the right, and I'm selecting 5 frames at 1 stop apart. The front wheel will adjust the stops in between each image. So you could have all the way from just a third of a stop, which would be 1 click of the camera, all the way up to 3 stops on 5 frame. But today I'm going to be using 1 single frame. Okay, so I'm going to go into the custom settings and timers and auto exposure lock, and I'm going to go into self timer of 2 seconds and 5 shots, and each shot will be a ½ second apart. That'll make it quick and easy. And then to activate the self-timer, we just rotate this dial to right there, and that activates the self-timer. Alright, so by now our settings have changed a little bit. It's 1/25, f13 and 100 ISO now. But of course we got all of our settings set now. So now all we have to do is start taking our pictures. We want to start at one edge and then work our way through and just get our framing right. I'm just going to do a third this way, but you want to make sure you have about 40% or maybe a third of your frame overlapping, so that when you go to the computer, your program can stitch the pictures together, because if you don't have enough overlap, it can't stitch them. Now, an important thing you want to do here is to make sure you are in focus, of course, before you start taking the pictures. I've got everything locked down except for the rotation here, the pan. And that is tightened down a little bit so it doesn't move, but I can still move it. Now all I have to do is press the shutter release and it'll take my pictures for me with a 2-second timer. And we've got our bracket. So now we just move this over about a third. Just going to pick an item about a third of the way this way and put it on the other third of the screen. And then take another set. Okay, we have all of our pictures taken. All the way from there to there. So now we have everything we need to merge them together. Now, to watch how I merge them together, I have another video on that of how to use Lightroom to make an HDR panorama, and the output will actually be a DNG file, which is a raw format. And it's very, very helpful to have your panorama and all that still in a raw file. That way it's just one file to store. You don't have all these extra Photoshop documents. Of course, you may need to do some edits in Photoshop. So anyway, I have a video of that. It's down in the description. I will show the pictures at the end of this video, of course, a little bit of the computer, but I'm not going to actually show the process since I have another video on that, so just make sure you check the description for that link. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, give me a like and a subscribe, and you can see more content like this. So we'll head to the computer now. Alright, since the recording of the first part of this video, Adobe has released a new feature. Now, in my previous video where I show you how to merge an HDR panorama in Lightroom and Camera Raw, I would show you that you need to select each group, merge to HDR, and then you would take each one of those merged HDRs and merge them in Panorama. Adobe has released a new feature within the same category, which combines both of those features into one. So now all you have to do is select every single one of the HDRs out of the entire panorama scene. Then you right click, go to photo merge as before, but now you just hit HDR panorama. It makes this so much easier. So thank you, Adobe, for making this new feature. Now I will say the new HDR panorama does lack deghosting from the HDR merge feature, which makes the old way still relevant of HDR and then merging to panorama. For most of the time, this makes a huge time saver because you can just do it all in one shot. As for reliability, I think I've had one set not work, but I'm not sure if that's just because of the images or the feature is different. I would assume that it's the same process as the old way, just the computer is taking care of all the steps. Anyway, as you can see here, it did a very nice job, and that's been my experience so far. Just hit the merge once the dialog pops up, and we're good to go. One other thing, I have not been able to find a headless mode for the new HDR Panorama feature. In HDR and Panorama, you have the option to run it in headless mode, which uses your last used settings, and then you can just run through, select a bunch, hit a couple keys on your keyboard. You'll start those ones, you can move on to the next one, and it just puts a whole bunch in the queue. So that saves a lot of time that way. I do not see that option within the new feature. So it'd be nice if Adobe added that, or maybe they already have and I just haven't figured out the keystrokes. I should do a little more checking into that, but I don't know yet. So just like before, HDR gives you a ton of extra detail. As you can see, I just dropped the highlights and raised the shadows, and they're nice and clean in the shadows and recovers all the highlights. So that's the big bonus of HDR there. And it's also a panorama. So type in my previous settings again here, and there it is. I may do a little bit more editing. That this is pretty much my final product here. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video, got something out of it. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Camera almost died. Too cold out here.